Okay, so we are live. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you so we can start going through the elements of the course. We're going to take a look at the syllabus, talk about a lot of the different features we're going to be using, and then we'll get into a little bit of content tonight, but mostly tonight's night to get ourselves settled in the course and to kind of explore some different tools that we're going to be using throughout the next 9 weeks of instruction, but I think it turns out to be like 12 weeks, right? Or 10 weeks, 11 weeks. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. So I won't be able to see you after I share my screen. So if you have any questions, you're just going to have to unmute yourself and give me an indication that you need my attention. So can you all see my screen now? We're EDUC 512 week 1. Someone can just get on mic and let me know.
I see it.
Okay, great. So this is where I basically house all of the information for my course. I'm not going to use Sakai. Not going to use anything, any of the university's web space. The way that I basically run my courses for APU is I have all the information on a web page, and it all runs in a pretty linear way, in that the content for each week is set up so that as you scroll down the page, that's the formatting of the class. That's how we run chronologically. So you don't have to do a whole lot of hopping around. Don't have to kind of guess where things are. If you can get to my website, which the base website is www.markrounds.com. So if you have trouble finding it, it's just myname.com. And when you get to my actual home page, you can come over to the top here to where it says APU EdTech, and you can go to EDUC 512 and find your way from there. Okay, so it should be a pretty easy find. I've got a pretty easy name, 2 syllables, 10 letters total. So try and keep it easy. Okay, so here we are at EDUC 512, or week 1. Up here at the top of the web page, if you hover over EDUC 512, you'll see that we have access to the syllabus, and then we have access to week 1's page. I will add each week's page as we get to it. So ultimately, if you look here at EDUC 515, we have all the different sessions here. So this list up here will grow as we go further into the term, and you can always access prior weeks. I leave those on there. On the right-hand side of the page, we have access to the syllabus. We will have a blog roll. That's not a link yet because you guys don't have your blogs yet, and there's also a link here to Edmodo. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the syllabus. We can go through that pretty quickly. A lot of the elements on the syllabus are universal, meaning any class you take at APU in the College of Education, the master's graduate level, you're going to see a lot of the same stuff in the syllabus. I won't necessarily cover all that stuff. I'm just going to cover the stuff that is specific to our class, our time together. And my internet is the world champion speed today, so we live in a society now where we have to apologize for the speed of our Wi-Fi. Okay, so the diversity statement is something that is universal to all of them. Okay, so of the course description, you're enrolled in EDC 512, Instructional Applications of Productivity Software. And the most important word in the title of the course is the term productivity. My focus and goal in this class is to arm you with a bunch of different tools and a bunch of different areas in the technological field that you can use to be a more productive teacher. Okay, this isn't really a class about necessarily about lesson planning, about classroom management. It's not really about any of that. It really focuses on you as a teacher and how you utilize technology, A, to make yourself more productive a professional in education, and B, how to make your students in your classroom more productive using technology. Okay, so we keep our eyes on that prize the whole time, the idea of being productive and making the best use of your time, and how different technology tools can really assist in that measure. Okay, so the official course description: you take the functional knowledge of productivity software and learn how to implement its use in instruction, projects, and analysis of student assessment data. Okay, and another word I want to focus on is the word software. Okay, this is not a software-dependent course. Okay, we are in a period of time in education in technology where we're becoming less and less reliant on software per se, like software that you need to load on your computer, and we're becoming more and more involved in applications that are web-based. Okay, so a lot of the things that we discussed, a lot of the different elements that we look at, a lot of the different tools that we're going to explore and experience are web-based. Okay, meaning that you need an internet connection for the most part to make them work. Um, that's just where we are now. If you know, I think that people in the generation kind of after me, you start talking web-based, and just really start looking at you with a skeptical eye, saying, "Well, what if the internet goes down?" That's something that's another thing that we'll talk about later in the term is how we become flexible. In a time and space where everything that we're doing is online, it requires a lot of flexibility. I mean, perfect example is tonight when my first thing out didn't work. I had to very quickly set up a new one, start inviting you in one at a time, and finally got you all in 21 minutes late, but here we are. Okay, the next part of the syllabus focuses on the digital teaching and learning program, the program goals, the program objectives. You can look through that on your own.
Miss,
Yes.
sorry, I have a question.
Okay.
When we have, well, the technology we're learning about, is it just for when we're teaching the classroom, or are students required to, log on to the website and stuff? The school I'm at right now, a lot of the students aren't going to have internet access, and I was just wondering about that.
You know what? A lot of this stuff is really about you as a teacher utilizing these tools um, to to help meet your students' needs. So a lot of it is just going to be you accessing them, you creating things, you developing things in the classroom, and out of the classroom. Obviously, as a teacher, we work beyond those classroom hours, right? So it's really about your productivity as a teacher. But do your students have do they have access in school?
If we can get a time in the computer lab or library, but we have to share with a lot of other people, of course.
Yeah, well, this is that's your experience is not uncommon. It's becoming more and more. I think we're starting to see less and less of that. The kind of computer lab ideology where if you want to use computers, if you want to use the internet, you got to go out of your classroom to a different place. But we're going to be able to reflect on a lot of that, a lot of your personal experiences, and a lot of what you're seeing in education right now. One of the assignments you're going to be working on the entire term is blog, and we're going to be reading different articles and reflecting on different videos and really kind of matching what we hear and what we read about where education is heading, and we're going to be reflecting on that in the light of current realities. So that experience that you have, that personal experience that you have, is totally valuable and necessary as far as a reflection piece for all the different things we're going to be talking about.
Thank you.
Sure. Okay, so we are on the second page here, and I'm going to look really quickly at this vision statement. The vision statement is common to the entire university, but they really want us to reflect with everybody on the outset on the mission statement, the vision statement, and we'll be using that in a couple of the projects that we're working on during the term. So the vision statement, and I'll just read it verbatim, is to develop highly effective, innovative, visionary educators and scholarly practitioners of high moral and ethical character based on Christian values and principles. Our vision is grounded in the four cornerstones that define the mission of Azusa Pacific University: Christ, scholarship, community, and service. Okay, and so one of the things that I experience, because I have a lot of friends in the ed tech community, and when I tell them that I teach for Azusa Pacific University, you know, a lot of the values that are entrenched in a Christian university, especially one that values its Christian philosophy and Christian identity like APU does, is isn't the thinking a little backward? I mean, the vision always goes to, I know it's not a Catholic university, but of a nun with a ruler and all that business. And I really appreciate this vision statement because right there in the first line, the idea of innovative and visionary educators is right there. And I know that the College of Education at APU really values the idea of being of not just being a Christian educator, but being an educator that is pushing the boundaries. Okay, is pushing the boundaries of what's current, and then what we foresee for education in the future. So that really goes back to that discussion that we just had, that idea of the changing face of education, and we'll dive into that a little bit tonight. My information, my contact information. You've all emailed me. I've had a couple of you text me. That's fine. Okay. Anytime you're experiencing any kind of issues, any kind of troubles, please contact me right away and let me know. Make me a partner in it. Okay. Again, we're all working adults. Okay. This is my night job. I teach a full boat every day. And it's I understand that things come up and things happen and life occurs, and it's my job. I feel it's part of my job as an instructor for working adults to help meet you where you are. Okay, so please make me a partner in whatever's going on, and if you find yourself getting behind, don't let yourself get so far behind that it's really challenging to get back. So if you feel an avalanche hitting, especially during this time of year, again, please let me know. As far as the required resources for the class are, the number one resource for the entire DTL program is an iPad. Okay, and I know that all the time when I get students, and this is the first class that they've taken in the DTL program, they're like, nobody told me we needed an iPad, and I apologize for that if no one told you that, but that is a required element for the entire program. So every class that you take you'll be utilizing the iPad in, and this one's no different. So if you don't have one, make this your awesome excuse to buy one. I am currently an owner of an iPad 2, which is kind of as far as required resources are concerned, you can see that you want an iPad 2 or newer. And so I'm trying to justify for myself as we go into Christmas, and I have 4 kids of my own, so Christmas time is always pretty lean. Trying to justify to myself the need to buy a new one, which is not going over very well with my wife. But here we are. So I have an iPad 2, so when we actually start breaking in, utilizing the iPad, and I start using it with you, sometimes it's kind of clunky and slow, and that's because I have an older iPad. The newest iPad, the iPad Air 2, is supposed to be just this lightning fast, sleek, amazing bit of technology. There may be some apps for the iPad that you may want to purchase. There's none in my current plan that that I'm gonna ask you to download to your iPad that cost anything, but there are we will be talking about like presentation software. We'll be talking about um, word processing software, and there are Apple iPad iOS apps like Pages and Keynote that cost money that you may want to load onto your iPad um, for you to use. But I'm not requiring that. If you don't want to use Pages, you don't want to use Keynote, um, Google's free, and so I use Google Docs and Google Slides. So there's no requirement on the iPad apps that cost money. I will be having you download some apps that are free. I'm all about the free. And then the other required resource is the computer. Okay, because some of the things that we do, you're going to need a computer to make work. So Windows, Mac doesn't really matter. Even a Chromebook. We're on a Chromebook right now. So if you have a Chromebook, that's a great option as well, because the majority of things, everything that we're going to be doing on a laptop is web-based. Okay, so any questions about what I've discussed so far, what I've sent out there into the world? Okay. We come down to the next page, and there's this big matrix of student outcomes and expected competencies. And I'm not going to read every single bit of it, but just kind of an idea of how this matrix works. There's an outcome, and so this whole list of outcomes are things like acquire a proficiency with basic technical skills utilized throughout the master's program. Learn to present creative materials in an engaging manner, incorporating differentiated instruction strategies. So these are the outcomes. They're all based on these IDEA objectives, okay? And the last column here are the activities that make up, okay, that make up the where you're going to be showcasing your proficiency in these outcomes. Okay, so again, that's an entire page in the matrix, and you can see as we come down here that some of these activities they stand in for more than one outcome. So, contributing to online and face-to-face discussions, your blog posts and your class discussions are right here. But then your class discussions and blog posts are also here in the area where you're reflecting on purposeful use of integrated software in both professional and personal duties. So you'll see some of them covering more than one outcome, more than one objective, but we're making sure that the projects that we're committing ourselves to in class are meeting all of those proficiencies that the course is meeting. The next page has our course calendar, and again, we have our dates here. We have our topics here. So the topics are the things we're going to be discussing in class and looking at in class, and then we have all of our specific assignments. Okay, and I like to lay things out very simply. I like you to know exactly what we're working on, when it's due, how it's done. I try to lay things out very simply, which in my experience, most people really appreciate. Okay, my job in this class especially is to help imbue you with these skills. Okay, and these skills that allow you to be more productive. Okay, so we're going to be committing ourselves to a lot of different assignments, usually one per week, and there will be some other elements each week. We're going to be doing some discussions and some reflecting, but the lifting is usually not too heavy because the focus is really on honing and developing skill in being able to use these different elements. So, in week 4, when your assignment is a classroom newsletter, the focus is really on putting that thing together and building it. Okay, so among these different assignments, you're going to be creating a blog. That's one thing we're going to be doing tonight. You're going to be creating digital presentations, and this is something that you've all done before, but this is using it, in this case, it's kind of using it, flipping it around and using it to be a more productive teacher, creating newsletters, collaborative presentations. We're going to be creating a timeline. We're going to be using spreadsheets. We're going to be working on digital citizenship and looking at some different digital citizenship lesson plans. And for your signature assignment is going to be something called a web quest, which is basically a web page that outlines a student project. And we'll be getting a little introduction to those web quests tonight. Okay, I am a firm believer as a teacher that in a lot of ways, the way that a class works and the way that students perform can serve to dictate the path that a class takes. So my little proviso here that this anything in here may be changed at my discretion if I feel like we uncover something, and this happens to me all the time in my high school classroom in my day job, that I will start, I'll have all these great plans over the next month, and then either I will, or my students will, or a student will, or a colleague will uncover something that kind of rattles my plan and makes me kind of refocus energy and focus and move my plan into a different area. And so that, I'm not saying that won't happen, probably won't, but you never know. Grading scale, which is common, all the rest of this is common information across all classes in the College of Ed. The grading scale, anything below a C is no grade, there's no credit given, so got to earn a C or more. And I got to tell you, and this is really my focus on grades, is that my goal for each of you is mastery of content, is really getting it, and I probably should turn off my webcam for this part, but I'm going to throw it out there anyway. I don't care about grades, and I mean that's just my point of view. I care about learning. I care about understanding. I care about revealing truths. I don't care about grades. Okay, it's my estimation that every single one of you should get an A in this class. Okay, the only way you don't get an A in this class is by not doing the work or turning in things that are kind of half finished. And that, at this level, you're paying enough for this class that that rarely happens. Okay, if something is turned in and it's not of the quality that I deem it needs to be to get an A, I will tell you to fix it, to change it, to develop it further. Okay, I won't just slap an 82% on it and hand it back to you. Okay, so again, I know, and really at the master's level, grades aren't super important except just to push you further. But there's no reason that each and every one of you should get an A in here, because that's just the way that I work these classes. But if you tell anybody that, I will firmly deny it. Grades are very important. That's my official statement. Okay, all the attendance policies and all that are in here. Again, being present is important, but things happen and life takes over. And again, you can always catch up by watching the videos on the websites after classes finished. Okay, so the rest of this syllabus is all common news. As far as task stream is concerned, I always forget to bring up task stream at the beginning of the course, and so when I'm scrambling at the end of the course, that's on me. So I will take one moment to talk about task stream. If you do not currently have a task stream account, you may gonna have to look into getting one. I know the majority of you do. One of the things that in EDUC 512 that you have to do in task stream, which is a little more work than in any of the other classes, you have to do what is called, and I know I have it here on our schedule, a dispositions assessment. And this is just basically you reflecting on what kind of a learner you are, what kind of a student you are, what kind of teacher you are and will be. And so it's I think it's 3 questions, and you kind of it's not just a 1 or 2 word answer. You have to kind of develop your answers. So that's something that I will most likely bring to our attention when we get back from Christmas break. And our first class after Christmas break is on the 6th. So on the 6th, I will bring up task streaming again. Probably won't hear task stream come out of my mouth until then. But on class 7, we'll talk about task stream. Make sure that you have an account. I'll have some instructions on the week 7 webpage on, if you don't have a task stream account, on how to get a task stream account. And then on week 8, we'll really break down the dispositions assessment, talk about the questions and all that, and so that you can have it finished by the end of the class. Okay, so and if you've never heard that term before, you can access it on the APU website. The College of Education is really into task stream, so it's a very important element of getting through the entire program. And so when I talk about a signature assignment, each course in the program has a signature assignment that is showcased in TaskStream. So TaskStream becomes kind of your digital portfolio of your program, and so that web quest is your signature assignment for TaskStream. All right, so that in all its glory is the syllabus. Do any of you have any questions about the syllabus, or about any of the dates, any of the assignments that you flashed on really quickly and might have a question about that I can answer?
When exactly are these assignments due? Are they due the day before, a
They're
week?
due. The official due date is, so if you're assigned something tonight, the official due date and time is like 11:59 on the following Tuesday.
And we don't
So
turn it
everything's
on.
always due. Go ahead.
And we don't turn it in on Sakai. We turn it in on your website.
No, we're not using Sakai. We're going to be using a tool called Edmodo, which I'm going to introduce you to tonight.
You're going to walk us through that. That was my only question, turning in assignment.
Yeah, I don't like using Sakai, because I've already got 15 different LMSs in my head and I can't bear to deal with another one. But B, because Sakai is something that lives in it just lives here at APU. When you go out, you're teaching in a classroom, you're not going to have Sakai. So I prefer to use something that you can utilize in the classroom that you're working in right now, or that you'll be working in next fall or 2 years from now. And so that's why I use a tool called Edmodo in this class. And again, I will proselytize about Edmodo in just a little bit. So the week 1 message is keep calm and be productive. I know it's cliche, but I like it. So there it stays. One thing that I'm going to ask you to do is, you don't necessarily have to do it right now. You can do it when we're done. That'll kind of get you out of our little box here together just a little bit sooner. So when we're all finished tonight, you can fill out this form. This is a Google form. We'll be talking a little bit about those later in the term. But some of these questions you already have answered, but this just basically gives me a quick flash idea of what kind of tech you have, and your social media usage, and then just any other input that you want to give me. Okay, so one of the things that we're going to be utilizing in the class this term is a tool called Remind. It used to be called Remind 101, and Remind is one of a series of tools that again, when we're talking about productivity, okay, we're going to jump right into this right off the bat with Remind. This is a free tool that exists on a lot of different formats that can really assist you as the classroom teacher. If you have kids of your own right now that are in school, maybe some of the teachers are using Remind. If you are a teacher in the classroom yourself, maybe you're using Remind. If you are, awesome. If you're not, you need to be because it's fantastic. Okay, Remind, and I'm just going to read it right out of here, is a free service that allows you to send text messages to groups of students and or parents from your computer, your iPhone, your Android phone, your iPad, your Android tablet. Okay, the benefit of using Remind is to text students and parents. Of using Remind to text students and parents is that your phone number is not revealed, and your students and parents' phone numbers are not revealed to you. So you don't have that kind of intimacy. Um, texting so fairly intimate enterprise, and I think for me personally, it kind of violates the separation between teacher and student and teacher and parent to a certain extent. I mean, it really it's that kind of closeness that I think kind of violates that kind of unspoken barrier there. So Remind is a great tool to make that work. And Remind actually has a lot of other features to it now that they're always building in. Company that's completely committed to education and remains free, which is awesome. And so we're gonna model that during this class. So there's a couple of different things that you can do, but the easiest way that you can utilize that is to, on your cell phone, you just enter this number into your text messaging app, and then you message with at APU EDUC 512, and then it'll ask for your name, and then basically what it does is it creates, on my end, in my Remind account, creates a class. So I'm going to go ahead and log in really quick to Remind. And kind of show you what that looks like. And if you're a teacher that's already using Remind, and I'm just preaching to the choir here, then I promise I won't take up too much more of your time. Especially since my internet is working so slowly. Okay, so when you're in Remind, you can basically send group batch messages to. So this would be my class. These are the list of my students right here. And so when I want to send them a message, I can just type it into here. Okay, like don't forget to your phase 1 project sheets. And so I can go ahead and send that to my students just as a quick reminder. Okay, currently my kids' teachers all use Remind, and I'm constantly getting messages on my phone about, they have a quiz on Friday. They need to turn this in on Monday, and it's super helpful for me as a parent to get these messages from their teachers. And as a teacher, it's super low impact. Okay, so once you guys all log into Remind, and I don't know if any of you done yet. Okay, so far Shan, Stella, and Emily have all enrolled, and so I will, if there's anything that comes up. I mean, again, like I said earlier, I'm also a working adult, and it may be that on Monday something's going on in my school, and I need to leave super late, and I won't be able to start class until 6 or 5:45. And that's a message that I can send out super quickly on Remind. I can just open the app on my phone real quick and just pop it out. Okay, I'm not gonna be able to make it to class until 6 tonight. So enjoy your dinner. and you'll see it's 6. And I'll send that out. You'll all get it. You'll all know, and it'll be, it's just, again, as a teacher, you want to talk about productive? That's productive. Okay. So great, cool, free tool to just to introduce you to, and then throughout this term, I'll be modeling its use. Okay. Any questions about Remind? I really wish they were still called Remind 101. I really liked it. I really like that name. Remind is very generic. Okay, and again, and for those of you that already have, you know this, but I always take silence. If I have like 10 seconds of silence after I ask if there's any questions, I always take 10 seconds of silence as there are no questions. And it's the most awkward 10 seconds of my ever for me. I mean, I just don't deal with those kind of awkward silences. It's kind of my ADD kicking in, but I do try and wait, 5 or 6 seconds of silence before I move on. But we will have each other figured out within a few weeks. Okay, our next tool is Edmodo. Okay, we're going to be using Edmodo as our learning management system for much of the same reason that I use Remind. Okay, I like it for the same reason I like Remind, in that it's something that we can use really easily in a K-12 environment. So whatever your classroom is, you can sign up for a free Edmodo account, and you can start running your class through Edmodo, which is pretty cool. And I'll be again, this is something that I will be modeling throughout our term together. All right. So some of you may already be using Edmodo, and if you are already using Edmodo, you don't need a new account. You can sign in. You can sign in to with your current Edmodo account, and then just apply. You can just use our course code to get into our group. That's not what I want to do. Okay, so basically, there's a link right here to Edmodo. It says go to Edmodo. And I'm just going to show you really quickly how to. So if you already have a login, you can go ahead and just log yourself in. If you don't have one, just sign up for a free teacher account really quickly. Again, you'll be in Flash. And this is the Edmodo environment. All right, mine is going to look, if you've never used Edmodo before, mine is going to look a lot different than yours because I have a lot of stuff going on in here. But if you have used Edmodo before, then you'll wind up having some of the elements that are in here. And when Edmodo was first designed, it was kind of designed as like a social network for your classroom. And so in that way, it kind of looks like Facebook. Okay, it has posts. It has, chronologically, you can see people posted 1 hour ago, 2 hours ago. You can know people, you can follow people in Edmodo, so you'll get to see the different things that they post. So it can work a whole lot like a social network. Okay. The cool thing about Edmodo is that you can create these things called groups. So over here on the left-hand side, you can see there are groups. And by pressing the plus sign, I can create or join a group. All right. So once you have an Edmodo account, or again, if you already have one and you have created groups, then you know what that's all about. But the way that you're going to be utilizing it for this class is you're not going to be creating a group, you're going to be joining a group. And when you join a group, it basically just asks for a group code. And that group code is right over here in this Edmodo section. It's 93 NWXP. You can either you can highlight it, copy and paste it, or you can just memorize it and put it in there. But when you put in that code into the join group section, it's probably not going to let me join because I'm already a member, but it'll put you right in that group. Okay, that's a code that's generated when you create a group. So in this way, this is how you would have your students join a group. So let's say, you're a high school teacher and you have 5 different classes, 4 different classes, however your school is set up, and you create a group for each class. So each class becomes a group. You give all your students that code, and they can join that class. Okay, so you have your students join the class. And once they join the class, then you can start conducting class the different ways. So I'm going to go ahead and click on our group here real quick. And right now you can see that there is, we have 4 members. Awesome. Okay, so Jimmy's in, Sally's in, Shannon's in. Okay, so we already have some members in our group. Jimmy already has a picture, which means he probably already has an Emoto account.
Hi, sorry, I'm a little lost. I'm trying to find the group. How do I search for you guys again?
You don't search, you just, when you get into Edmodo, you just click the little plus sign right here, and you click join, and then you put our group code right into that field.
Thank you.
And that automatically, you're welcome, that automatically enrolls you in the group. Okay, so you can see here now, this section right here, this group post section, is where everything would go. So if I had a note, or any of you had a note, I could just say, welcome to EDUC 512, and I can send that, and it would basically just generate it down here. Okay, just like, so it winds up sort of ultimately looking like Facebook. So if someone else was to write a little note and pop it in here, there it would be. And, I can say, week courses, and then I would take, the URL from tonight's web page, and I would come down here to link. So this is, how I would share a web page. And I would attach that link and send it so that, so now we're looking at utilizing it in different ways. We're using it to send messages. We're using it to share links. And ultimately, go Seahawks. Come on now. Come on. You gonna throw football propaganda in here? Let's not get crazy. Okay. So we can also, send alerts. So if I know something's due, I can send an alert. I can also assign work, and so this is how we're going to be utilizing, for the most part, this is how we are going to be utilizing Edmodo. Is I'm going to be using it to assign your work and to grade your work. Okay, so if I pop in an assignment, okay, so your first assignment this week is going to be an About Me blog page. Okay, the due date for that assignment will be next Tuesday the 18th, and the description of the assignment is actually on this page here, so I can just come in here and I can grab all of this. I can copy it, and I can come over to Edmodo, and I can paste it into here. So that's all the instructions for this week's assignment, and then I can send it. And by doing that now, I've created an assignment in Edmodo. Mine says turned in here. Yours will say hand in. So when you're ready to hand it in, you click on that. Okay, and the cool thing about that is that, no, wrong one, but it basically then creates a gradebook. Okay, it creates a gradebook that you can then, once you get in and start grading student work, it fills in this gradebook, and as a student now, you can go in and you can look and see what your grades are. Okay, it operates, there are elements in Sakai or in Blackboard or in Moodle or in Haiku or, all these different learning management systems that are out there, right? There are elements in there that do the same thing, but this one's personal and it's free and it's, as a teacher, super easy to use, making you super productive, I believe. And if you download, as I have on my webpage here, if you download the Edmodo app to your iPad and your smartphone, your iPhone or your Android, then you will get any kind of alerts that come up. You'll be notified when when anything's happening. Okay, so this is kind of yet another way that you can utilize a tool to notify students and parents of different things. You can actually give students access to Edmodo so they can see what their students are doing and they can be part of that environment as well. So Edmodo is a very cool tool, and again, I'll be modeling it throughout the term. And Edmodo is where you'll go to check out your grades and all that. Okay, any questions about Remind or Edmodo? Again, we're just introducing them now, so we'll be fleshing it out more as we move throughout the term. All right, I like the 10 seconds of silence. So we're going to watch a very short video here real quick. I'm going to bring it up on YouTube so we can see it bigger. I'm hoping that it works out well on here. Sometimes the watching of videos can be a little wonky, but all right, it's kind of cheesy animation, but it's just kind of a springboard for us to just have a quick discussion.
Mr. Winkle awoke from his 100 years to find the world had changed. Sleepy, he made his way to a tall building filled with busy people and strange sounds he had never heard before. Machines printed out pictures and documents instantly on paper. Business people spoke to other business people halfway across the world and saw each other, too, on small screens on their desks. It was too much change for Mr. Winkle. He had to get out of it. He was feeling sick, and so he went to a hospital. Inside, he saw men and women kept alive by machines which breathed life into their lungs. Lasers and X-rays were used in surgeries Mr. Winkle had never thought were even possible. This hospital wasn't going to make him feel better. He made his way out onto the street, unsure of where to go. He walked and walked until he felt like he could walk no longer. Up ahead, he saw a school. He walked inside. It was instantly familiar. Students sat in neat rows while the teacher in front of the room lectured them all day long on reading, writing, and arithmetic, while the students took notes on what their teacher said. This went on all day. There was no intrusion here from the outside world. Mr. Winkle liked school. Whoa! There was one of those strange machines, though, in the back of the room, the same kind that Mr. Winkle had seen in the hospital and the office building. But it was dusty and it wasn't being used. This was school just as Mr. Winkle remembered it. It was comforting to know that even after 100 years, some things still remain the same.
Were you all able to hear that whole thing? No 10 seconds of silence. I need someone to say yes so I know you heard it.
I heard it.
I
Okay,
heard
cool.
it. I heard it. I have a
Okay,
question,
so-
Mr. Rounds.
Yes.
For Edmodo, when we sign up, do we sign up as a teacher or student?
I would sign up as a teacher because ultimately the idea is you'll be using this as a teacher. So you can sign up as a teacher and then still join the class and use it in our class as a student, basically.
And the other question is, can you please repeat the steps on how to repeat or how to do the My Blog page, the copy and paste that you did?
For Edmodo, how to? Oh, you don't need to do that. That was just me putting in an assignment.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
I'm not asking you. Yeah, you don't have to copy and paste anything. Sure.
Okay.
So this is was it Emily that spoke up earlier about the computer lab and all that?
Yes.
Okay. So that's kind of highlighted in this video. The idea that that you see students, in a lot of classrooms even today, you have students sitting in rows, teachers up in front lecturing, students are taking notes. I mean, and school has looked like that for hundreds of years. I mean, if you take it all the way back to the ancient Greeks, and you had Socrates standing on the steps of the Parthenon, in his toga, and he was the smartest guy, and he was teaching all of these people who didn't have the information, and he was giving them the information, and they were soaking it in. They weren't sitting at the desk and writing it down, but basically that has been the model of education since there's been education. And we're currently in a time where information, the truth, the answers, right? The answers are not now exclusive to the smartest people in the room. The answers are everywhere. The answers are in your hand, in a little, black brick. The answers are, on your laptop. The answers are, I mean, we are currently in the this strange zone as teachers. Okay, we are in this like growth spurt, if you will. Okay, we're in this time of the most turbulent change that education has ever experienced, and it's all due to this disruptive innovation, technology. And technology is a real general term to use, super general. Okay, but we're talking about what we're really talking about is information. And the ability to process information, the ability to access information, and the reasons why we access information. And we're going to talk about this a whole lot more. But this whole idea of Rip Van Winkle falling asleep for 100 years, so he falls asleep in 1914 and wakes up in 2014, and everything in the world is completely different. Completely different. Like, someone in 1914 could have never imagined the advances in medicine, in the workforce, in transportation, right? They couldn't have imagined that. And yet here we are 100 years later, and everything is so different, except education. Yeah, we're using overheads or projectors to broadcast stuff on a board instead of writing it on there with chalk. Okay, but we're still basically the same idea. Okay, so it is this very, very interesting and amazing time to be a teacher, but also scary and frustrating. And there's a lot of other adjectives I can use as a teacher. Okay, because on the other end of this, when this time of this radical change is over, education is going to look like something different on the back end. But we are right now in the middle of this change, and we are the teachers that are responsible for cultivating learners during this change. Okay, and so programs like this digital teaching and learning program are super important because we're raising those ideas and raising those questions and thinking about ways that we can change the way we facilitate what happens in our classrooms. Okay, so where school is going, that's where school is, where school was, and where school is. So that's the past and the present. All right, there hasn't been much change. But where school is going, okay, I have this infographic. This is called an infographic. It's an amalgamation of two words, information and graphic, right? So we need to see the information, okay? That we see, this is the idea of in the future, that school, and they put it in parentheses here, will take many forms. Sometimes it'll be self-organized. Learning may no longer be defined by time and place, unless a learner wants to learn at a particular time in a particular place. Learners and their families will create individualized learning playlists reflecting their interests, goals, and values. Those learning playlists might include public schools, but could also include a wide variety of digitally mediated or place-based learning experiences. Okay, radical personalization will become the norm. Okay, where the learning is where the learning is tailored to the learner instead of the opposite. That's the way it's always been. It's always been the opposite as far as normalized education is concerned. That the learner has to tailor themselves to the learning. But when you look at like agrarian societies where you have like I want to become a blacksmith, and so I go and I become the blacksmith's apprentice. And I want to become a miller, so I become the miller's apprentice. And that idea of the learning being tailored to the learner was something that was there all along, but we've lost that. And you're going to see that coming back. I want to be a computer programmer, and so I'm going to tailor my education toward being a computer programmer. Okay? I want to build houses, and so I'm going to tailor my education toward that. And you're going to see this huge change in education. And it may not be easy to see at this point because of, we're so focused on, on Common Core and all that, and there's a lot of myths and realities about what the Common Core is and is not. But we're so wrapped up in the day-to-day, gotta get our kids educated, gotta get them to pass the test, that it's hard to see that this as a teacher a lot of times. But this is where we're heading. Okay, it's gonna happen. So we're in very interesting times, and that's kind of the main focus here. So you can take a look at this infographic. I've got Instagram on my brain for some reason. This infographic, and just kind of soak that in a little bit, and you'll be watching a video this week and responding to it that will take this even further. So you all have a Google account, and that's great. Either you have your APU one or you have your personal one. It looks as though the APU one is working just fine for our webcast here. So you can use your APU one. That'll be fine. But in your Google account, right, you've got Google Plus, which we're working in right now. Google Plus, we're in a Google Plus Hangout. For those of you who have never used Google Plus before, we're going to be utilizing Google Plus as well. And we have a Google Plus community that I put together for us. And in our Google Plus community, we're going to be in our case here, we're going to be reflecting on, and actually let me get this in here real quick so we can, and I'll actually show you how to do that. We're going to be reflecting on some different things each week. So in Google Plus is where we're going to be discussing different topics. Okay, we're going to be discussing different topics. So there is a link here on the web page underneath that infographic under where it says Google account. That is a link to a Google Plus community. And if you click on that link, let me see, hopefully it should open up our current one. I know I changed that link. Let's see. Oh, maybe it doesn't. Hold on a sec. Let me refresh the page here. Okay, yes, it does. Okay, so once you're in the Google community, and I just had Jamie apply to get in, so now she's in. Okay. Okay, there's a category called EdVid Discussions. And in here, I'm going to be sharing a video right now with you. It is a 14-minute TED Talk from a gentleman named Sejan George, and it's about, it's his TED Talk on the future of education. And what I'm going to want you to do is, I'm going to want you to share. I'm going to paste in the description of what I'm going to want you to do here. Give me a sec. Okay, so I want, I'm going to have you in our Google Plus community, and this will be in here. I want you to respond with your thoughts on how this view, and this is just one person's view, okay? And that's the thing that is important because the TED Talks are so slick and they're put together so well, and the people that deliver a lot of these TED Talks sound like they know what they're talking about. But it's always important to look at what a lot of these people are talking about through whatever your lens is, okay? And so I'm presenting this video to you not as the truth, not as the gospel, not as what's going to happen, but as mental food to chew on, okay? And so I want you to respond with your thoughts on how this view of the future of education affects you as either a present or future educator. And I want you to take into consideration the vision statement, the one that I threw out there earlier. The highly effective, innovative, visionary educators and scholarly practitioners of high moral and ethical character based on Christian values and principles. Okay, so you might use that vision statement as part of your reflection. Okay, and so I'm going to go ahead and share this, and I will probably wind up being the first one to add a comment here. But basically, once you're in our community, you'll be able to add a comment. So you just click on add a comment, and then I want you to write your reflection directly in here. And hopefully we read what each other has to say, and we're able to push the conversation further. Okay, this is going to be kind of our spot to reflect on what other people have to say about what's going on in education, what we're looking forward to in education, what's currently happening that's good, what's currently happening that's bad. I will bring you something different every week, and every week I'm going to ask you to respond here. Now, I don't have a word count, I don't have a paragraph count. I want you to respond. Okay? If it's something that leaves you feeling particularly uninspired, you can say that. Say, this let me, I don't really have much to say about this. I thought he made a good point here, maybe didn't make a good point there. You give it, and then the next week you might say, wow, I've got a whole lot to say about this, and then you're just going to be, just barfing out word salad. Sorry for that image. That's full of gross. Okay, so again, I'm not. My only requirement is that weekly you're responding. Not that there's a certain length to your response. Okay, so a couple of you have already applied for apply for membership. Just make sure that sometime during this week, if you don't do it tonight, that you ask to be invited to the group. Okay. Excuse me. I am not going to go through the nuts and bolts of creating a blog because I've already done that in this YouTube video. I don't know how long it is. It's about 7 minutes long.
Hey there.
But it takes you from the beginning of I don't have a blog at all, never created a blog using Blogger to um, where you need to be to actually develop this assignment. Okay, so this 7-minute video will take place. I'm not going to do it now because it would be, I want you to also develop the skill of watching a semi-short tutorial video and being able to conduct yourself through it. Okay, so this is another kind of productivity deal as a teacher. This is kind of if you've heard the term flipping class, right? As a teacher, I create a short instructional video so that so that you as a student can watch it on your own time and work through whatever you need to work through on your own time, and then we can use class time to work on the things. So it's sort of modeling that. So the 7-minute video on Intro to Blogger, I want you to watch that, and by the time you're done watching that, you should be able to create this About Me page. Okay, and I'm just going to go through this with you very quickly. You're going to create a new page in this blog that you create called About Me. And this About Me blog page is going to have, and I'm just asking for 3 paragraphs here. As far as length is concerned, whatever you have to say is going to dictate the length. So in the first paragraph, I want you to introduce yourself, including a discussion of any school experiences from K through college that you believe influenced you on your road to becoming an educator. So this first paragraph really speaks to, why I'm a teacher or why I'm an educator. The second paragraph has to do with technology, your personal skill level with technology, and how your views on it. Okay, my assumption is that your views on it are going to be somewhat positive because you are in a digital teaching and learning master's program. But I want you to reflect on technology and education. Okay, what your personal experiences with it have been. You can even give me personal experiences as a student and as a teacher. So Emily, this would be the place that you're talking about. Maybe some frustrations about wanting to use technology in the classroom but not having that technology there. And then the third paragraph I want to harken back to that mission statement and the philosophy and the vision statement and respond to any part of that statement that speaks to you, and maybe reflect on whether and how it was a factor in your decision to be a student at APU. Okay, I want you to include a digital picture of yourself inside the blog post, and so that we can have a picture of you tied into there. And then I would like you to comment on at least 3 of your peers' blog pages, and that's something that you may not be able to do before we meet again, because as this is due next Tuesday, this is something that may have to happen after. What will happen is on our webpage up here under EDUC 512 links, you see this Fall2 2014 blog roll. This will next week be a link that you'll be able to click on, and you'll go to a page that'll have everybody's name on it, and you'll be able to click on their name to get to their blog. You click on their name to get to their blog to read their About Me page, and then you can say hi to them there. You can comment on it. Okay, in order to submit this assignment, you're going to go into Edmodo, and you're going to click on, for this assignment, the About Me page. You're going to click Hand In, and you're going to include the link to your About Me page. So when you create your blog page, it's going to generate a link, and from that link, you'll just copy it, paste it into Edmodo, and send it to me. As far as the names of the peers on whose blogs you commented, actually don't worry about that part because you may not have done it by then. If you have and you found 3 people's blogs, then great, but you probably won't be able to do that by then. So I will be able to pick that up on my own. I went through that very quickly. This is something that you might have to forage through a little bit, and this is something definitely that if you run into any roadblocks during the next week, that I want you to contact me on, and either most likely email is the best way, or you can always go into our Google Plus community, and I will put in right now a category.
Question
Called I Need Help. And if you need help with anything, you can go into our Google Plus community and you can put it in there. So I'm like offering a lot of different ways to work through things. So if you need to use the Google Plus community to ask for help, that's a great way to do it. If you email me, that's fine. If you text me, that's cool. Okay, again, we're kind of modeling this idea of teachers being available in different ways through different means and different mediums. Was there a question?
Yeah, I have a question.
Okay.
It have to be on Blogger, or can it be on like Weebly? Because we have
I
that.
know some of you use Weebly. The one thing that I would say it would be okay to have it on Weebly, unless you've never used Blogger before.
Okay. Well, and then I was going to ask. Oh.
What's that?
I was going to ask if we already have a Blogger, can we add it to that, or should we create a new one?
You can create a new one.
Okay.
It's super easy to create a new one. If you've already used Blogger before, and you like Weebly better, then you can use Weebly.
Okay.
Okay. If you've never used Blogger before, I want you to use Blogger because I just want you to experience it. Does that make sense? Okay. It's about exposure, and so yeah, if you've used Blogger before, then using a different tool is fine to create your blog. But if you've never ever used Blogger, which is a Google tool, I want you to use it because I want you to have the experience of using it. Okay, it's 7 o'clock. We've been going at this for an hour and a half, which is basically me talking for an hour and a half, which I know has to be making you sick by now. But the rest of the webpage has to do with an introduction to web quests, and this is something that I'm going to also leave for you to explore. Okay, knowing that we're not going to really touch web quests until the last 3 weeks of the course of the class. So we're not going to touch web quests until 2015. So this is just an introduction, just to kind of get to wrap your head around it. But if I've already given you enough to wrap your head around, don't feel like you have to get to it. There is no assignment connected to the web quest. It's merely an introduction. So if you're grooving and it's something that you want to explore, jump in and explore it. If you're like, man, that's a lot of work, and I got to start wrapping my head around all these, the Edmodos and the Remind and the blog and the, and the Google Plus and all that stuff, then by all means, don't look at the web quest. Okay, I'm gonna leave that there, just as an introduction to them. But again, we're not gonna look at web quests again until January 6th. Okay, so I've laid out a lot of different things, and again, this Hangout, I'm gonna go ahead and stop the broadcast.